Welcome everyone. I want to welcome you to Fall Vegetable Gardening. And if you haven't already, please type your name and city into the chat box. You'll notice that there is a Q&A box and that there is also a chat box. So the chat box is a little bit different than Q&A. So I see we've got people tuning in from all over. We've got Clear Lake. We've got Turlock, Modesto, Fremont, from people from Ceres tuning in, Patterson. All right. And I'm sure there's a couple other places people are coming from. So sometimes people think that once their tomatoes are done or their zucchini plants have given up or they've given up on them, that that's the end of it. The gardening season is over, but that is not the case. Fall vegetable gardening is a really great topic that we're bringing to you tonight. I'm Ann Shellman with the Master Gardeners here in Stanislaus County, and we're going to be talking to you all about these wonderful and delicious vegetables. And so we've got people from Pleasanton and Houston, so joining us from a few other places. Again, welcome. Let me just tell you a little bit about our agenda tonight. We're going to go over the basics of gardening for those of you who want to know a little bit more about how to get your garden started. We're going to talk specifically about some planting methods. And then what are these mysterious fall vegetables? We're going to explore that together and how to harvest them. And last but not least, with the Master Gardeners, we always try to talk about integrated pest management, or IPM, which is the less toxic way to control and manage pests in your garden and landscape. And now I would like to introduce our speakers. We have a really great program for you tonight. We have Terry Pellegrini and Ro Yer, and I'm going to go ahead and let them take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terry Pellegrini. I'm a Master Gardener with Stanislaus County. I'm really excited to be here tonight to share with you some information on planting your own fall vegetable garden.
Hi, I'm Ro Yer. I may go in and out a little bit because it seems like my internet connection is unstable, but I'll hang in there as long as I can. I love the winter. I call it a winter garden. I know they say fall or winter, but I call it a winter garden. So let's begin. Okay, in the chat box, would you please write down your favorite fall vegetable? And if you say, what are you talking about, fall vegetable? By the time we end, you'll understand. So take a couple seconds and let's see what we have. Aha, cabbage, okra, broccoli,
Ooh,
potatoes,
beets.
lettuce, good one. Oh, Brussels sprouts, my friend.
Ooh, chard.
Yes. Okay, so, Becky, yes, carrots are great in the fall. You are so right. And Brussels sprouts, yeah, Brussels sprouts. A lot of Brussels sprout eaters out there. Like to see that. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. I do appreciate that. So a lot of people know that, what the fall, the winter vegetables are. So what we're going to do right now is just talk real basically about garden basics. I know if you have gone through that before, you know, we've gone through it, but we just want to kind of remind you in case you're new to us, sun and water are necessary. As it says, 5 to 6 hours. You can get a lesser amount if you're doing like leaf lettuce, and you have to have a water source by fight. The water is really, really important because talk to one of our master gardeners who was trying some container gardens this summer. He'd never done that before, and he said he got so tired of watering it. Now, I don't know if he was close to the water source or not, but that's real important. And you can use a soaker hose, drip irrigation. Please come back for our water conservation class so we can talk a little bit about that, but water is important. Make certain that your seeds or your seedlings or your transplants get enough water, especially right now if you start your planting. As we all know, it's been very hot. Got to keep those things moist. And the root ball of the transplant, definitely water regularly. And sometimes you're going to have to water more than once a day depending on the situation and the heat. If you use fertilizer, you're going to look for a slow or a time release fertilizer. Find it at the big box store, your garden center. You want to use a water soluble one and follow the directions. If it says a half a teaspoon to make more plants, in fact, it can kill your plants. Chances are, if you've done your soil preparation, if you're in the garden, in the actual dirt, the soil preparation properly, you won't have to fertilize. However, if you're going to be a container gardener, you're probably going to have to. The soil preparation, put the compost in. That's very important. And as Ann said, we're going to have a composting class, and maybe you can come for that. And by next year, when you're starting your spring garden, you'll have your own compost. And avoid using actual soil if you're going to be a container gardener. A couple reasons. You don't want to introduce diseases, you don't want to introduce bugs, you don't want to introduce weed seeds. Also, it's very heavy. Find a good quality potting soil, and you're ready to go. Now, where do I plant? If you're a container gardener, you can use just about anything. Just make certain that you have holes in it, and it's a light. And remember, if it's a light colored, it'll reflect more light. Large containers are best just because you need to have space for those roots. And if you're doing container, get some plant trolleys. If you think you might have to move your plant around, those little platforms with wheels, those are real handy, and you can use those for years. You may have a stain, so put something underneath it. If you have a saucer underneath it, please remember to drain the saucer, because we don't want to be breeding mosquitoes in your garden or your patio or whatever. I bought just a bunch of cheap tiles at the big box store. I put that under the plant. I put the plant on those little feet or on a plant trolley, and then I can pick it up and move it, and it doesn't make much of a mess. Creative containers. You can use just about anything. Terry, what's the most creative thing you've ever seen, or the one you like the best?
Actually, one of the most unusual and creative planters I have ever seen was a toilet.
Okay.
They actually filled it with soil. They had these wonderful plants draping out of it, a bunch of other little plants around it. Very unusual. I don't think I do that myself, but hey, it was very creative.
Very creative, yes. You just want to make certain that you have drainage in that you've cleaned out the container very, very well. The other thing is, and we'll get to that in just a second, is, and someone just wrote a chat reminding me, make certain that you have things that do not have chemicals in them. And we used to use a lot of tires, rubber tires and railroad ties. Please don't use those. They have chemicals in them that can get into the soil, can damage your plants. And if you have some of those in your yard, think seriously about getting rid of those. You know, having them hauled away or whatever. There are boards, there are, 4x4s that you can buy that are treated for planting. Check with your garden center or the big box store. And remember, your containers may dry out quickly. Check your soil. The old finger is the best way. Stick it in there. Sometimes you may have to water more than once a day. Okay, do we have any questions? Anything going on, Terry, in the question department?
Well, I do see Belinda asked if cement leaches chemicals. No, it does not. Unless you've treated the cement with something to prevent it from any moisture coming through, just using regular cement should be just fine. It won't hurt your plants at all.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, someone said they used suitcases with the chemicals. I have to read that whole one. But yeah, just be careful what you do use, please. You don't want to harm your vegetables, and you don't want to harm the ground around it.
Stephanie also asked if we could use cinder block. Cinder block will work just fine. Again, as long as they're not treated with any chemicals, they should be fine.
Yeah, Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Oh, we do have a couple of. Oh, having to do with asparagus. Are there different kinds of asparagus to get? Yes, there are. And what I would suggest is around here, you don't find that many in the big box stores, but check with your local nursery. Also, seed catalogs. There's quite a few of them. I would just put that into, if you'll pardon the expression, a Google bar and see what you get. But yes, there are. And asparagus, as we know, grows well, however, not in containers, because asparagus needs a couple of years to get going. How do you prep the soil after pulling out the summer veggies? I would just dig it up, add a little more compost, and start going. Okay. Tractor Supply had asparagus crowns last year. Rachel, do you know if they had more than just, I don't think, what is the one that usually you see? Okay, that's okay. Sherry got hers there too. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Oh, they got the purple. All right, excellent. Good job. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about planting methods. To start your fall veggie garden is as easy as taking a trip to your local nursery or your garden center for some transplants or some seeds. Transplants are really easy for beginner gardeners. One of the things I like about transplants is you have instant garden. You get the plants, you plant them, and you can see the beginnings right then and there. Seeds are more economical. They're a lot of fun, but again, you have to wait a little bit longer for those plants to come up. There are certain veggies that you can only do with transplants, and there's certain veggies that you can only do with seeds, and we'll talk a bit about that later. So what is a transplant? It's a plant that is 6 weeks or older, and again, it can help you establish your garden very quickly and give you that instant garden look. There are many different kinds that are available. I like using sometimes lettuce is great for transplants, broccoli or cabbages can get those started very easily. Seeds are best for things like your root veggies, your carrots, your parsnips, things like that. Now, planting your transplant, you need to take a little care with that. You need to take your plant out of your container carefully, just kind of tap it around the edges to loosen up the soil and pull it carefully off, and take a look at the root ball. Root ball is that part of the soil there with all the roots in it. Check to see if there's any roots that may be circling around or look really tangled. You can kind of loosen those gently before you plant it. You want to make your hole about the same size as your root ball. And remember, sometimes they will sink a little bit, so give it a little bit of height. So maybe your crown, which is the very top next to all your plant, is just a little bit above there, so you don't have to, if it sinks down, you're going to get the soil next to your plant. Set it gently into the hole, and then make sure it's watered very well. You want to make sure that root ball is saturated. It needs to have a good start with lots of water. Okay, a lot of people have been asking this question. Plant seeds now, but it's hot. It is really hot out there right now. But you can get your garden started right now. Way to do this to make sure you protect your seeds by keeping your soil very moist. You might need to water it every day, maybe twice a day, just to keep it moist. You don't want it soaking wet, but you do want it moist so they have a good chance to get germinated. That heat is really nice, will help out, but for some plants, it might be too hot. So you want to take advantage of some of the shade during the day. You can use shade covers over the top of a raised bed. You can use cardboard over your seeds. But remember, only 50% of the day, they need that light. Label what you plant. Trust me, I've learned this one the hard way. You need to label what you plant. Really easy to do so. Popsicle sticks, paint sticks, any kind of mini blinds, anything plastic or wooden that you can stick in the ground, write on it with a permanent marker and let you know what's in there. However, if you do have pets at home, especially puppies, be cautious with those too. I had all my popsicle sticks with the names of my veggies on there eaten up by my puppy, and I had no idea what was going to come up anywhere. Now, what you see in front of you there is an average seed packet, which shows you different ways to your seed depth, your plant space, all the information you need to plant your seeds properly. One thing to remember is that when they say seed depth, especially when you see something as small as 1/8 of an inch, that's not very much soil. Most of the time it's about 1/4 inch, which is probably about up to your first pinky knuckle. That's usually the average seed depth, but 1/8, it's just sprinkling them on the top and putting some light soil over the top of your seed depth. Really important because it gives the chance for those little seeds to be able to come up properly. Again, don't bury them too deeply, and make sure you keep your row space and your plant space as far as they tell you on the seed packet here. That gives your plants a chance to grow properly, especially your root crops, carrots, things like that. They need some room to grow underneath the ground. But if it's too close together or you drop a bunch of seeds in one hole, don't worry about it. We're going to talk about thinning in a little bit. Why didn't my seeds come up? Well, there's several reasons for that. Again, you may have buried them too deeply. Sometimes we just put our fingers in there and it's just a little too deep and that poor little plant just didn't have a chance to come up. Maybe you didn't water them quite as consistently as you needed to. You need to keep the soil moist. Again, you don't want it soaking, but you do need to keep it moist. And then again, check your package, your seed packet. Maybe the seeds were too old. Maybe they'd expired. Some seeds can last a couple of years after the date, but not always, and it depends on the seeds. So it's always best to use seeds that have that year's date on them when you go to plant. What is thinning? Thinning is what we need to do to all our plants to make sure they have lots of room to grow. You need to, about 3 weeks after the plants sprout, they've got a couple little leaves on them, you need to look at your plants and decide which ones you need to keep and which to remove. You need that so the plants have lots of space. One year I didn't go out there and thin my carrots the way I needed to. They got all clumped together, and when you pull them out, I had these twisted carrots, I had these little stumpy ones, I had these really funny looking carrots. Still edible, but they didn't really get a chance to grow properly because we didn't thin our crop. It's very necessary to do it. It can be difficult and kind of scary sometimes too to try to get in there and thin your crop. Here we've got a nice picture of a bunch of little seedlings. As you see, they're fairly close together. Maybe your seed packet said they need to be 6 inches apart, and you can see they're probably not 6 inches apart. So what we need to do is pick out which ones we want to take out so we get the spacing we desire. There we go. See, we're going to take out the ones that are with the X and leave them so we have our proper spacing. And you can thin them out a couple of ways. My favorite, and what I feel is least invasive to the plants, is take a pair of scissors and just trim right at the soil line the ones that you don't want. They don't have anything up there. They're not going to keep growing because they don't have anything to photosynthesize. So they're going to be done. You can pull them out by the roots as well, but they're very crowded together. You can disturb the roots of the one that you want to keep. So you want to be a little careful with that. And do we have any questions now?
Yes, we've got a couple good questions, Terry. In Modesto, is the watering restrictions reply to gardens? I know watering restrictions, and Ann, you're probably a good one to jump in on this one, but watering restrictions has to do with your sprinklers. And if you have either a soaker hose or you have drip, it doesn't affect it. Isn't that correct, Ann?
That's a really good question. I would say we'll have to get back to you on that maybe. I know Modesto has 3 different days, but if you are trying to start seeds, you may need to water them every day. And you're not applying a lot of water, but good point about maybe the sprinklers row. I don't know. Terry, do you?
I think Turlock, I know if it's drip or soaker, it doesn't apply. But even if it did, you can always get yourself a nice little watering can, because there's not going to, depending on, of course, how huge your garden is. But if it's small, especially with container gardens or a few raised beds, just a little sprinkler to come out there with a little watering can every day. That is within the guidelines. You can water your plants every day or twice a day using your watering can.
And we have one, is chard a winter crop? Yep, we're going to talk about our friend the chard. Yes.
And also we have one, do you recommend a small greenhouse for seed starters here? Again, that's something that's up to you. If you want to try to using a greenhouse, go for it. Might help you to start some seeds and get your transplants going. But again, that's a personal choice if you want to use that.
Okay. Okay, now in the chat box, real quickly, or if you don't have to put it in the chat box, but what are you going to plant? Okay, first of all, I'm going to ask Terry, what is the most interesting or the fun or the thing you like to grow most of our fall and winter vegetables from that list?
Oh, wow. I have so many favorites. Parsnips is one of my favorites. Not something you see all the time, but I love them. They're a member of the carrot family, and they're nice and crunchy. But I think my overall favorite has got to be Swiss chard, because it's just so pretty in the garden.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anyone else want to? Okay, turnips and fava. Oh my gosh, here we go. I love it. I love it. Carrots and beets and radishes and kale. These are all gardeners. These are all winter gardeners. Which is so much fun. So we're just going to talk about a few of these things right now. And you keep jumping in on your chat room, or if you have any questions about it. But my little story about winter garden. Years ago, when I was growing up, I lived in the Midwest, and the ground would freeze. So winter was a time after you've put everything to bed, is when you read the seed catalogs and you dream about when you can get into the soil and start planting. So winter fall garden to me is such a treat. I love it. And especially if you have little people with you, children, grandchildren, whatever, it is amazing. So we're going to talk a little bit about our favorites and winter garden things that we're going to plant. Okay, there's a lot of choices, as I said. Some of them you'll be able to harvest quickly. Some of them will have to winter, and as they grow a little bit, and then some of them will have to wait until spring. There's a few of them that be a couple of years before you get anything off of them, and but we'll talk about all of those. And it all depends on what you want to grow and when you're going to plant it. Again, and we'll talk about it, we'll say this several times, and if you've never done winter garden before, sometimes it's a good idea to plant every 2 or 3 weeks, and that way you don't actually have too much of anything. But we'll get to that. Okay, artichokes. They don't usually do real well in the ground, in the container, but some people have been very successful. They'll harvest, I had one that harvested this summer, I don't know why, but it's saying fall or winter, but if you start with a transplant, but it will last for several years, and they can become really, really big. It's just not for 1 year, and I use it as an ornamental in my garden because the leaves are so beautiful. And if I don't want an artichoke, I just let it go to flower because it's a gorgeous flower also. Asparagus, as someone said before, asking questions about asparagus. And you know, we live in an asparagus area, so you know that it likes this weather. If you go over to the Delta, a lot of asparagus is grown there. It's okay in the ground, in a trough, but remember, you're going to need a couple of years. The first year you'll get nothing, and maybe two or 3 years before you have any harvest at all. As it says, 3 years for maturity. That second year, sometimes you have some little bitty skinny ones and you're tempted, but leave it if you can. And it's in the spring. Asparagus and strawberries to me are the harbingers of spring. It seems like when you see those in the grocery store, no, spring is here. Broccoli and cauliflower, they are gorgeous to grow. And this is one of those that if you have young children, especially picky eaters, but it's a fun thing to grow when they get to harvest their own, watch it grow, and it's amazing. They go great from transplants. You'll harvest in the winter. You'll just watch it get bigger and bigger. It will grow in a container. You can only put like one to a container, but you know, it's a fun thing. Um, and it says to cover the heads in the spring because they will get burned. They can get burned, and you don't want that to happen, but watch. Brussels sprouts, if you've never seen a Brussels sprout grow and you're a Brussels sprout fan, they grow on stems and they are fantastic. It's great for kids to see. And it may become, they may become Brussels sprout eaters if they weren't before, just watching it. You can put it in a 5-gallon container. It grows really tall. It's a long stalk and it's a lot of fun. And you start it now and it'll just grow for a long time. And then come the spring, you'll have this wonderful plant that you'll cut the whole thing off. You'll cut them off the stem and enjoy them. Cabbage is beautiful, and there are several varieties available. There's the different colors, there's different shapes, but it's fantastic to watch the cabbage grow, especially if you're getting like the bowling ball cabbage. They're so much fun. It says 50% shade during germination. I've never done cabbage from seed. I may try that this year, but you'll harvest them in the winter and it will grow in a container. And your root vegetables, so many of those. You'll use seeds because they're easy to germinate. Don't buy the individuals, because if you buy it at like a transplant, you get a six pack, you'll have 6 things of beets or 6 things of carrots. No, you probably want more than 6, especially if you have a family. Rectangular container works. Read the seed pack, as Terry said, follow the directions, and please thin it so that those little underground roots have chance to grow. Again, this is one that you probably like every 2 or 3 weeks want to do another row or maybe another container. And then once it's mature, you take those out, maybe move the soil around a little bit, or then start another one. So you can do this for many, many weeks. Those are like beets, which you'll seed in October. There are many varieties of beets. If you've never seen them before, again, it's a fun thing for kids. And they do need to be thinned. And the greens can be eaten. Not everyone likes beets, but this might be something that you, no, she says, I don't like beets. We've had a couple of discussions about beets, so that's why. But they're fun if you're a beet eater. Carrots, again, a variety of colors. So many new cultivars have come out in the last few years with the purple and the white and the regular orange. They're good for you, and kids love to pick the carrot out of the ground and hose it off quickly, and they will eat it right there as you're standing in there. Seeds in July or August, and actually, if you do the seeds now, the winter's carrots are really very, very sweet. I think they're actually sweeter than the spring carrots, but maybe that's not quite correct. But I think they're better than the spring ones. Radishes, whole variety of radishes also. Those are easy ones for kids to grow. They work great in a container. Remember again to thin. If you're doing daikon, which are the big white ones, they will take 60 days, but we can grow those in this area. We are so fortunate. There's so many things we can grow. But plant the seeds every 2 weeks so you constantly have, and you don't need to do a whole bunch. I don't know many people, well, some people make like lots and lots of carrots. But if you're doing the regular, just the plain old carrots, either the watermelon carrots or the round the world carrots or whatever the one is you're doing, do it like every 2 or 3 weeks so you have a new supply. And peas, you'll plant them in the fall, you'll harvest in the spring. You'll need to have something for them to grow on because they are a vining. There are transplants, so it's pretty easy to get one started. And you need a pretty deep pot because those roots go pretty deep. Now this one I have never grown. I saw someone said they like fava beans. But you'll do seed October, November. And if you don't want any garden, if you don't, I mean, I don't know if you use fava beans or not, but if you're not, it's still a really good ground cover. A lot of nitrogen, so in the spring you can plow that in. And even if you take the bean off, leave the leaves and everything, get those in, it gives a lot of nitrogen to the soil. And this is something I didn't know till recently. It's a great place for ladybugs. They seem to love the stems. So if you don't want to do a whole garden, maybe think about just planting some fava beans and just let them grow. Maybe you don't even want the beans, just let them grow, but that's okay. As long as it's not taking a whole lot of your time, you think you're letting a great pollinator have a home.
All righty. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Vicki Salinas from the Stanislaus County Free Library. She is part of the Modesto branch and has been with the library as a reference librarian for 15 years. I hear from a little bug in my ear that her favorite veggie is zucchini, but maybe she has another fall veggie favorite as well. Can you tell us about that, Vicki?
Hi, Terry. I know Vicki is using her daughter's computer,
Okay.
so hopefully I have promoted the correct person to panelist. She said her daughter's name was Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's me. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
There we go. My video is not starting for some reason, but I'm sure that's okay because we're doing the slides. So hi, everybody. My name is Vicki Salinas. I'm a reference librarian with the Modesto Library. And yeah, I've been at the Stanislaus County Library for about 15 years now. And I love it. And unfortunately, we are closed to the public inside at this time, but we still have a lot of modified services that we're offering. So I wanted to talk about a few of them to get gardening items through the library. And so one of the ways to get that is through Hoopla. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Hoopla, but it's Hoopla Digital is an app that you can download to your phone or tablet or even to your computer. And if you use your Stanislaus County Library card, it's free to download items like we have on the screen. We have some gardening books. Hoopla does offer, in addition to ebooks, audio books, and other formats, video, TV shows, graphic novels, etc. You can download 5 items with Hoopla per month. So it is limited to 5, but it's really user-friendly interface, and everything you can download right away. And so there's some great titles, as you can see here on the screen. And if you don't have a library card, I'll talk a little bit at the end of the slides about how you can either get your library card number or sign up for a digital library card while we're closed so that you can use things like Hoopla. So we have the 2 slides with Hoopla. Yeah, there's some great titles there. And you can just do a search of gardening. You can get more specific, but yeah, Hoopla is really user-friendly. Another resource that we have, it's a digital resource, it's called RB Digital. And what that is that's the name of a magazine, magazine offerings that we have. And so RB Digital just recently expanded their collection of magazines that they're allowing the library to offer everyone else out in the public. And so I would take advantage of it. You know, we have some great magazines here, like you can see on screen: gardening, organic gardening, food gardening. And so you can see current issues and back issues with this. So this is, again, something you can view on your phone, on your computer, and you can flip through each edition just as if it were a regular magazine. It will show you each page, even the ads. It's going to show you everything. So there's some great choices there. And so, yeah, I would definitely take a look at that. Again, free to use with your Stanislaus County Library card. And so
These
that
are
is RB
great,
Digital.
Vicki. Yeah, really exciting.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying this is
Yeah.
really exciting that
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
really glad
flip
that they've
between.
expanded their selection as well. Yeah, yeah, and just with the ebooks too, with like Hoopla, you can flip through it like a regular book. It's really nice. Even the graphic novels are nice on there too. So I also wanted to show you that, you know, we're still offering books. And so we're doing this as a curbside pickup. Really, it's a no contact pickup, but I chose 3 that I saw online that had some pretty good reviews. And these 3 we actually have in the library, specifically the Modesto library, but you know, we can transfer it to any branch you'd like. So like one of them is the Vegetable Gardener's Handbook. It's a week by week. I like this one because it talked about, you know, giving the best times to start seedlings and transplanting and harvesting the different vegetables in your garden. So like me, you know, I'm learning, you know, what's a good to plant now. This would definitely help you. This week by week Vegetable Gardener's Handbook. We have another one on there, the Vegetable Gardener's Container Bible. So for those of you who don't have a whole lot of space, but you know, but want to garden, you can try in containers. And so this really helps you with that. And it talks about the different types of plants you can pot. You'll find a list of container-friendly plants. And so this is pretty helpful one. And then another one I chose was the Starter Vegetable Gardens. And so this has some great visuals in it. It will help you start your first garden. And it says, you know, it's helping you so that you can spend less time planning and more time planting. So that's probably a good one for me because I'm a newbie starting. So I also want to talk about, the insides of our libraries are closed, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But what we are offering is you can put items on hold, and you can, once you get notification that the hold is ready, you can come down to your local branch and give us a call. We have our phone numbers listed outside, and we will place the items on a table for you to pick up. So no contact pickup, which is great. So even though it looks like we're closed, we still have a lot to offer. So you can definitely get books from us. You can also call us at any time. If you don't know exactly what you're looking for, we're available by telephone at all of our branches, with the exception of Turlock, because they are going under renovations. So they are closed at the moment, but the nearest one to Turlock would be Denair. And then I also wanted to mention about library cards. So sometimes people forget what their library card number.
Looks like we may have
Oops.
lost. There we go.
I think I got myself muted, but I don't know if you
Okay.
caught the last part. But if you don't know the library card number, call us. Or if you don't even think you have a library card, that's okay. We'll give you a digital library card number. Yeah. Oh,
Well, thank you very much.
sorry about that. That might have been my internet connection. I'm not doing so hot at home today.
I understand that.
No worries.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard the bit about library cards.
A little
No.
bit.
Would you repeat that, Elizabeth? So what if I don't have a library card? Is there anything we can do right now since I can't go in?
Yeah, give us a call. I'll put our phone number. I don't know if you guys prefer it in the chat or the Q&A, but I'll put our main Modesto phone number. Give us a call, and we can get you set up over the phone. Is fine.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki. We appreciate all that great information, that all the services and things we can find at our Modesto and other branch libraries. And thank you for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you.
And now we're going to talk about some leafy greens. This is one of our favorites, at least my favorites. Leafy greens are usually really easy to plant and to grow. Planting from seed is, of course, most economical, but you can get them in the little 6-packs with the transplants, which are just wonderful. If you're going to plant them in a pot, make sure you get the pot at least 9 to 12 inches deep so they have plenty of roots to grow. And planting, of course, always follow the spacing directions. Bok Choy. Now this is one plant I haven't tried yet. I'm going to have to give this one a try in my garden this year.
Yeah.
It's really delicious in stir fries and as a raw veggie. You can plant them with either seeds or transplant in the late summer or the early fall. And plan on harvesting them. And if you do in the summer, you're going to start harvesting in the fall. And in the fall, you're going to harvest yours in the winter. You can harvest the baby greens, or you can wait until the plant gets really tall and you can harvest it that way. Mustard and collard greens. These are a yummy and nutritious thing to have in your garden. Again, very simple to grow. You can plant them with seeds in the fall. You can sometimes find the transplants for those as well. You're going to harvest these during the fall or the winter. The collard greens, you want to harvest the young leaves as you need them. Just kind of snip them off with a pair of garden scissors. The mustard greens, you can cut the whole plant back to about 4 inches tall and it'll regrow from there. Or you can just harvest your leaves as needed. These are great to put in your winter stews and soups. It's wonderful to have those collards and mustard greens. Lettuce. This is one I always have in my garden. My husband and I, we eat salads almost every night. So I always have 2 or 3 different varieties growing in mine. You can start these again with seeds in the fall, or you can get the transplants. I've done them both ways with equal success. You can start harvesting them when they get to, it depends on the lettuce, but some of the, like the remains and things like that, you can harvest them when they get to about 4 to 6 inches. If we can go back one slide, please. Well, we're going to go right on to spinach. Oh, here we go, back to the lettuce. It's okay. We're going to spinach here because spinach seems to want to come up here. I guess Poppy's running the spinach right now. So we got Caesar transplants. Spinach themselves come in several different varieties. You have the savory, the semi-savory, and what we're usually used to in the stores are the flat spinach varieties. These are planted during the fall or the winter. Gets the spring harvest. You want to pinch off the young leaves and let the rest of the plants grow. So I usually take the outer leaves and pinch those off and let the inner leaves keep growing. And you can be harvesting your spinach all season long. Swiss chard. We talked about this earlier. It's one of my favorites because not only is it tasty, easy to grow, but it's absolutely gorgeous in your garden. It has so many different varieties, things like bright lights or neon glow. And what it looks like here is the ruby that have the beautiful stems with different colors. You can get them in yellow and magenta and gold, and it's beautiful, easy to grow. You pinch off the young leaves as you grow, as you go along, not as you grow. And they're very tasty. Again, you can put in soup, salad, or even eat them raw. Potatoes. This is a fun one for the kids to grow. Yeah. You can go to your local garden center and buy your little seed potatoes. Don't use the one from the grocery store. Those are sometimes sprayed to stop them from germinating so they won't grow for you. So the garden center have what they call seed potatoes. You'll get those and cut them into little 2-inch pieces with the little eyes, those little indentations. Plant them in something nice, big and deep, 5-gallon bucket or larger, or you can go on Pinterest or YouTube and find all different ways and things that you can build to plant your potatoes in. They're a lot of fun to grow. You get the pretty greenery, and you've got those, when the potatoes come out, it's so much fun. Onions. Onions is something I always have in my garden every year. You can grow them from seeds, which I haven't tried yet. I may have to try that this year, or transplants. You usually get the transplants. Garden centers usually have them around mid-October, I think, end of October when you get those. And they have a late spring harvest. Usually around May is when you're actually going to harvest your onions. So make sure you have a dedicated plot for them because they're going to be there for a while. One of the biggest things, and my first mistake was, when you're planting your onions around May, you want to stop watering them and let the tops to go brown and to flop over. If you keep watering them, you're going to have lots of green growth on top and little flowers coming up, and the bulbs are going to be really tiny. Once you stop watering it, they put all all their energy into growing your bulbs. Garlic, same way. It's absolutely wonderful to have. They have lots of different varieties. They have elephant garlic, the Spanish reds, the usual white garlic. All of them are really good and tasty. Again, they take a long time to grow, so have a nice dedicated plot. And same with the onions. You want to stop watering them around May, allow those tops to flop over and turn brown, so you get a nice sized bulb to go ahead and pull out and braid or dry. I like to both braid mine to hang, and I also slice the cloves and dry them for later use as well.
Okay. We're evidently no questions at this point. So, but if you think of something later on, let us know. Okay.
Oh, Heidi looks like she likes to add chard to her smoothies. Ooh, that sounds yummy.
Yeah, that's, I was going to say there are a couple interesting comments in the chat room. Chard was talking about allergies, and it's I did not know that fava beans that some people are very allergic to them. So, you know, like I said, I've never grown them before, but if you have certain food allergies, check with, you know, medical professional about the fava beans before you try that.
I also
And Rowan, Terry, we did have a question asking when you say fall, is that September? And I had gone ahead and answered it. So if you want to talk about that, what we mean by fall, we probably should have said that from the beginning.
For me, fall garden means you're going to be harvesting between your fall and your winter time. Some of it actually goes to spring as well.
It depends,
Yeah,
right? We always talk about that.
Favorite answer.
That's our favorite question and answer.
I was trying to avoid it, but
yeah. But I think for purposes of like fall gardening, I know Rose said she likes to call it winter gardening, but the idea is you're getting it started here in fall. I think that's kind of what we're focused more on. Even though it's summertime, you're trying to get the seeds to be done and get a jump on them becoming transplants before fall, or you could just stop by your local nursery or garden center and pick them up there. So.
But in the past, I have lost track of time, and all of a sudden I think I still have tomatoes growing. I still have all that stuff from the summer. And then I think, oh, if I'm going to have a fall, winter garden, I better get going. So it has been almost, and I hate to admit it, but November before I've put stuff in and it works. I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, but sometimes life gets in the way of the garden. So, you know, try it out. My sister was wonderful in keeping a diary on her garden, and I need to do that also, and I'm sure good gardeners do. But keep track of when you do plant and what kind of results you had. And there have been a couple more questions. Planted parsley this spring. Does it keep growing all year? Now, mine does. And I've heard people say, oh, no, it'll go. But it does, and especially if you decide, if it decides to bolt, if you got some flowers, I just pinch them off and it'll keep going forever.
We had a question from Joanne. She was asking how to cure leggy seedlings. If your seedlings are leggy, usually means they're not getting enough sunlight.
Yeah.
So they need to be in a sunny place, or if you're trying to, you know, start your seeds indoors, they're not getting enough light, and that usually causes them to be very tall, spindly, and leggy. So it needs lots of light. That's why we're getting that problem.
Okay. And someone says broccoli and cauliflower. Does it produce one head or more after picking? I've only seen it reducing one. I don't see that that's one that you can cut off and it'll come back again, like with your lettuces and your, you know, your spinach and that type of, or the romaine and that type of thing. Am I wrong with that one?
So broccoli does have
Okay.
like several little branches on it.
Right.
So those will each individually grow a head on it, unlike the cauliflower that usually only has one big one in the middle.
Or one cabbage. Yeah.
Right, or one
So
cabbage.
that's why, you know, if you really like cabbage, maybe plant one or two, and then in a few weeks plant another one, so that you know that you have a few pickings to go.
Right.
We'll continue to send up little shoots. Okay. All right. Heidi says cauliflower does not. Yes. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the support we get. Does celery grow here? Yes, it does. I did celery last year because I just thought it was such a fun thing to do. It was fine. I don't know about the taking off the outer stalks, though. I just took the whole thing. Has anyone done just taking the outer stalks and left it? Okay. I don't think so. And we have one more chat. I think that's about it. Okay. Ready to move on. So, we're going to skip your favorite?
You didn't mean to move on that far. I'm sorry. I don't know why I can't
Hello,
go back.
hello.
Back.
Central,
back.
Central, what's going on?
There we go.
Okay. If you've done this fall and winter gardening before, or you've never done it before, did we say anything that makes you want to plant something either different this year or just to try planting this year? If you put that in the chat box, I'd love to know what you think is interesting or what you're going to try that you've never had before. Just like Terry, I'm going to try the Bok Choy. I think that just sounds real intriguing.
Oh, I've grown that. It's a lot of fun.
Have you? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
and
Onions, yes. And it's nice to know the onions, remember, stop watering them, let the things go by. I just like Terry, the first couple times I did it wrong, and I had the littlest, strangest looking onions. They tasted okay, but it's not the onion that I really wanted.
Gorgeous greenery, but yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah, it was very good. It was kind of like big green onions.
Oh, fun.
Asparagus, bok choy, parsnips. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Rich.
Okay. Oh, thank you, person who's going. Who is this? Who is this? I don't know. Who's going to do fava beans for nitrogen and ladybugs? Thank you so much.
Nice.
Real quickly, I found this out the other day. I don't know where maybe it was with Ann, but if you have sunflowers, leave the stalks because ladybugs love them. Was that you, Terry, who told me that?
I just like them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Or even if you can, leave one or two of the heads on there. And they like that too. So they'll winter in the head too.
Okay. Okay. Brussels sprouts and onions. Yeah, I'm a Brussels sprouts person. Purple potatoes. Purple potatoes are great. Just don't make mashed potatoes out of them, please. They really look icky.
If you have kids, they'll like it though.
The purple?
Well, it turns into like a gray paste.
Yeah. Like poi. Okay, beets again. Okay, very big plants. Okay, remember with beets, you have to thin. And if the package says, 2 inches, do 2 inches. If it says a half an inch, do a half, whatever it is, you remember the package is real important.
Right.
But I hope you found something new that you want to try, or if you've never done the fall winter garden, that you'll try it, because to me, it is just so much fun. And it's really kind of an easy garden, because a lot of the stuff you just plant it and walk away for a few months and come back and you've got a cabbage.
And look at all the goodies you have later on to eat.
Yep.
Very satisfying.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And not too many weeds. Like in the summertime, Rose's favorite weed I know is spurge. So just kidding. I just pulled some of that out of my garden. So at least the weeds slow down, and it's nice. So we just wanted to take a quick moment to ask you to help us grow by receiving an email from us in about 3 months and answering that quick survey. It'll just help us grow the quality of our program. And earlier I had mentioned that if you are gardening in another area rather than Stanislaus County, that you can ask a master gardener in most of these counties listed here, and you can find them. I know I've been looking for resources online for various just basic questions like container gardening, and I found really great information from cooperative extensions in Oklahoma or Iowa. As long as I don't follow their times for planting, we're all set. And back to where, actually, now I can't remember. Was I doing this slide? Oh boy, maybe it was me. Boy, you practice one week and how do you forget between this and the last? But we want to promote IPM or integrated pest management. Before you grab whatever you've got in your toolbox, you want to identify that pest. If you're not sure what it is, the Master Gardeners are here to help. You can send us photos. You can take a sample into our office. We only have 2 folks working there right now, so you would leave it with them. They would probably take a picture and send it to us. And, you know, when in doubt, knock whatever you see off with a spray of water. Choose a less toxic pesticide like a horticultural soap or oil. This is different than mixing up your own potion in your kitchen. You want to, at least we recommend using something that has already been researched and is made for that purpose. And then if you do use a pesticide, even if you feel like it's less toxic, you still want to read the label and protect yourself. And like we mentioned with weeds, pull them when you see them. So unless you contact us, you can always jump on the UC IPM website to the home garden, turf, and landscape pests. And then you can drill down here to vegetables and melons and find the crop that you're interested in learning more about and see what the problem might be. And then we also have a bunch of references here that you can check out. But in closing, we want to thank you. And I don't know if any more questions came in or Ro or
Yes,
Terry.
one question, and I hit the wrong thing because, you know, the brain and the fingers don't always work together. They're asking about celery. Yes, celery is planted in the fall. It'll grow all winter long, and you can start harvesting as soon as the size that you want. And it's like I said, it's a fun one to grow. So many of these vegetables are so much fun if you're working with younger people. And it might get them out in the garden and helping you and time to talk. And so it's a good thing to do. I'm done.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you and goodbye. Pleasure meeting you all.
Yeah, and so if folks have any questions in the future, we'll send out the link that's Ask a Master Gardener. I know someone had a question about their kumquat, and we'll be getting back to you. And so we hope everybody have learned a lot from this class, and that you'll share with us when you do grow whatever it is you decide to grow, and send photos. So until next time, we'll hopefully see you guys next month at our planting for pollinators class. So good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have fun gardening.
Bye-bye.